All right, so today on this podcast, we're talking injuries and kind of an interesting parallel into our own lives. But just off the bat, so I'm a big fantasy football guy, and so injuries have definitely affected the fantasy football season. But no matter who your favorite team is, key players are out. They're in and out of the lineup. We wonder every week, like, who's playing, who's in, who's out. You're waiting until 12:50 Eastern to figure out who's actually playing. But it's amazing. And then once you start watching the games, guys are going to the blue tent. And, concussions are one side. Like, that's kind of a whole separate injury concern. But then you've got the hammies and the groin, and you got ankle injuries, high ankle sprains, and all this kind of thing. And it just feels like, wow, has it always been this way? Like, why are so many guys getting injured?
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Bryce. And I actually have thought about it a ton through the years. This is what my main thought is when it comes to football, because I think baseball is different. But when it comes to football, I think it's as simple as I don't know that the human body was made to be as strong. Guys are so strong, so fast, so heavy now, and they are slamming into each other at higher speeds than and with stronger bodies than they did when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, right? Because of physical training. And I really think that's why there's so many injuries in football, that it is just the impact of smashing into each other. You got 22 dudes out there that are bigger, stronger, faster than ever. And that impact creates problems for the human body. Now, you talk about all the soft tissue injuries. I don't understand that. And you talk about preparation and, what are players doing in the off season? They've made so many changes to the preseason now to try to coddle their bodies. And you wonder if that's almost having an inverse effect, that their bodies are not actually prepared to be able to take the beating that they're taking. There's better minds than ours that are studying it and putting science, asking questions of science and what they've learned about what the best training techniques are. But it doesn't seem to be enough. Whatever it is that they're doing doesn't seem to be enough. Bryce, I don't even get excited anymore when it comes to, watching my Browns. There's other reasons for that these days. But, when you have all the offseason moves that take place, and I don't even get excited about getting to watch guys, because inevitably 2, 3, 4 of them they're not even going to see the field at the beginning of the year because they'll be hurt.
Yeah.
They just get hurt.
Well, it's crazy. And it just seems like, okay, the injuries are happening across the league, but they're happening to marquee players at different positions too. You go from running backs, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, the marquee guys out, hamstring injuries to guys like Devontae Adams. And he may want to be traded as well to go team up with Aaron Rodgers and whatever new coach they're going to have. So, But you've got these guys. And the other day, Evan Ingram, during warm-ups before the game, I get out of church and all of a sudden I find out that my tight end that I have in 3 leagues in fantasy is not playing that day because he pulled his hammy in warm-ups. So it's craziness. And so you mentioned something as far as the offseason goes. I am so adamant about guys actually practicing at training camp. I mean, the amount of updates you get in July and August of guys, it's a rest day. They're taking off. They're not practicing today. He's off to the side. It's like training camp is barely a few weeks. What do you mean? What, you can't, these guys in high school growing up, they played all summer long in the hot heat here in Charlotte. And now all of a sudden guys can't play for a few weeks. They got to take all these off days. So I don't think they're preparing properly. That's really what it comes down to.
Which is mostly coming through the players union, right? I mean, that's the limited amount of time that they actually have to be there now, the limited amount of actual physical activity that takes place relative to what was happening 20 years ago is largely a result of the players' request. And so in a sense, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but you almost wonder if that is backfiring on them because they're not ready. Their bodies are not ready. And then you couple in what I said, that the speed, the strength, the size, the weight is so much greater now. So they're less physically prepared to deal with a greater strain on their body. Once it starts. They just can't handle it.
No.
I wonder what else there is to it than that.
Yeah. Well, and then, I'm also a big believer in preseason and the ramp up of preseason. And it was driving me nuts the first few weeks of the season where we just sort of accept the fact that offenses are no good and that everybody's getting injured. And it's like, well, hey, guys, if we played a little bit in preseason, stop worrying about getting injured in preseason. Actually, just play 1 quarter, play 2 quarters, then play 3 quarters, and then week 1, you're ready to play 4 quarters. To me, that just makes more sense. And so I don't understand why these guys go 0 to 60 week 1, and they wonder why they're I pulled my hammy. Well, yeah, no kidding. You haven't prepared properly.
I think it's so traumatizing for coaches. And I've seen this happen with the Browns throughout the years. I think it happened to Alex Mack. This just is flying through my mind as you're saying that. Alex Mack was a center.
Great.
Back in the early 2000s. Yeah, remember Alex Mack?
Oh, yeah.
And I remember, I want to say it was maybe like on the first play of the first preseason game one year, he broke his leg. And it only takes one of those, I think, if you're a coach, right? And that changed that significantly changed their line that year. And so it's like you only have to have that happen one time where you're like, I'm not playing any of them. We're wrapping them all up in bubble wrap. And if they're going to get hurt, they're going to get hurt in a real game. But like you're saying, the catch-22 is your timing's off. Everything's a little slower. Your body's not used to impact. And now all of a sudden we're in a real game where we're really, really blasting each other, right? Because even in the preseason, you're kind of warming up to blasting each other. You're hitting each other, but you're warming up to it. Yeah, both sides. And so now we're not prepared. We're not getting that preseason stuff. And then we're just getting thrown in the mix and slamming our bodies into a brick wall. And our bodies don't like it.